Paris in the summer, where hearts turn to gold. It's going to be a wild ride. Everyone's invited. CBC and Gem have you covered.
Here comes Grasse. It is Summer. McIntyre goes for Canada.
It all begins July 26th. The world comes alive in a global act of unity. Summer's going to be popping. Let's go!
Hello, everyone, and welcome to the show. I'm Andy Petrillo, your host for Primetime during the Paris Olympics. The countdown's on, just a couple weeks away. And I am so happy that I will get a chance to spend the entire Olympics with the person who's going to be joining us now on the show to talk international stories on the athletics front. Of course, that is world champion Perdita Felicien. Perdita, are you as excited as I am to be spending time with you? Are you excited to be spending time with me?
I am, of course. That's a silly question. You already know the answer. Of course. We're going to have fun.
Well, here we go. Let's start now because we can't get enough of each other. I want to actually talk international stories. We're going to be talking Canadian stories on the track because we know that Canadians are a force to be reckoned with. They did bring home 5 medals in Tokyo, but based on what happened in Budapest last year at the World Championships with 4 world titles, a lot will be expected of the Canadians. But of course, they will have contenders on the global stage. Let's go just to our neighbors and the Americans. Noah Lyles, he's made it perfectly clear he wants to come home with 4 gold medals. Perdita, he wants to add the 4x400 relay in order to achieve that. Do you think he can do it? Is he really the superstar here that everyone's going to be keeping an eye on?
You know, this man is greedy, okay? 4 gold medals, like, what? Like, are you not going to save anything for anybody else? But to answer your question, though, Andy, like, he is the real deal. And you know me, I'm always frank. A lot of his pageantry kind of, like, annoys me, right? Because I'm like, dude, just do the thing. But here's the deal. Noah Lyles backs it up. 3 gold medals at the World Championships last year in Budapest. He has shown that when it matters the most, he can do it. However, Mr. Lyles, you have company, sir, okay? And this man, heir to the throne, potentially, goes by Kashane Thompson. He's a really young Jamaican, about 22, 23 years old. And he shocked the world at the Jamaican trials, running 9.7, Andy, shutting it down. A day ago, he was in Hungary, ran 9.91, basically stopped to do his little laundry, and then coasted through the line. It is scary. And I'm telling you, Noah Lyles has paid attention to it. But Noah feeds off of that kind of competition. So this will do nothing but motivate him a little bit more.
Yeah, you're right, because I don't think Noah Lyles does what he does without the pageantry and without that chip on his shoulder. But we also wondered if Jamaica would produce someone else once Usain Bolt retired, and Kashane seems to be the guy we're all keeping our eye on. Marcel Jacobs, the Italian, of course, the reigning Olympic champ in the 100-meter, has qualified. He's looking to prove to the world that it wasn't a fluke what he was able to do. But when we turn our attention to the women and the sprints, another American, as we know, Sha'Carri Richardson not going to Tokyo. That was her own federation deciding to ban her after she tested positive for marijuana at U.S. national trials. But she, too, had a great World Championships, Perdita. What are we expecting from her?
I think the world, everything. Like, Sha'Carri needs to deliver everything. And so it has taken me a while to truly believe that Sha'Carri can back up the things that she posts on the internet, right? Like, she is, I've never seen anyone like her before. She's out there, she's herself. And sometimes I felt in the past, Andy, like, you talk all this talk, you say all this stuff, but you don't back it up with your times. She finally has world champion, right? Here's the deal with her. This is different now, though, right? She has Sprite commercials. She's on the cover of, the digital cover for Vogue. She has, Beats by Joe. She has all these sponsorships and all these obligations, all these people that she has to answer to. And the only thing that they want is for Sha'Carri to win to justify the lines in their marketing budget. Do you know what I mean? Mm-hmm. So Sha'Carri, she's actually coming into these Olympic Games very different from that chip she had on her shoulder going into Budapest. The question for me is, how does she manage the expectation? But here's what just happened. Shericka Jackson was in Hungary running the 200 meters. It was cool. It wasn't great conditions. And she pulled up. She was in the lead. She pulled up, and they say it's a hamstring niggle. Now, Andy, you and I know 3 weeks till the round start. You don't want to catch not even a cough, not even a cold, nothing. So they're playing it off. But I don't want Sha'Carri to show up in Paris and be unchecked. Like that would rob us, cheat us of a real true showdown. And I'm not saying nobody else can challenge her. Julian Alfred, the St. Lucian woman, is looking really, really good. She's a 10-8 sprinter. She can challenge. But to me, Sha'Carri is walking in as the supreme favorite. And for anyone else to say differently, they'd be lying to us.
What about Shelly-Ann Fraser-Pryce? Can she kind of make some noise there? And perhaps, it seems ridiculous to call Shelly-Ann Fraser-Pryce a disruptor because she's been there, done that. But you're right, there is a little bit of a changing of the guard here. But what do you think she can do at her last Olympics?
Yeah, listen, I don't want to denounce her because all the people from Jamaica will come for me on the internet. And I'm not really trying to piss them off right now, okay? Like you talk bad about their queen, but I am such a fan of hers, respectfully as a broadcaster. Like I've been in the same meets as her, races as her, and competitions, I should say. And this woman can deliver. But I got to be honest, right? Like has a lot of mileage. She has a lot of years on her. She's older. And so her ability to disrupt the sprinting world order is going to be a lot harder for her. However, let me be honest and say this. You can never really count her out because there are times that we're like, what can she do? Bam, bronze medalist. Bam, world champion, over 100 meters. So she is someone that I think age could be catching up to her. And if it would catch up to her, it would be in Paris. But then I'm like, do I have two tongues right now? Because on one hand, I'm like, well, she's old. On the other hand, I'm like, but she could do it. Do you know what I mean? I'm torn, Andy. I'm torn.
That's why we have to watch. That's why everyone who's watching right now has to just continue watching during the Olympics to see what ends up happening. I want to go off the track a little bit here because on the field, something caught your eye internationally, and that came in high jump. You're like, I want to talk Yaroslava Mahuchik. I'm like, okay, set a world record, but why did that catch your eye?
You know what? Because it's 37 years old. Like, Costa Stepanova, she broke that. I don't know if I'm getting her name right. I'm going to do that again. Yeah, Stefka Kostanova broke that record or set that record back in 1987 at the Worlds. And I used to compete alongside the Canadian champion, Nicole Forster. And she was a high jumper for Canada for many years. And she used to always talk about how old, that record was. And it always in my head, and I'm like, oh, that's an old record. So to hear in 2024, this 22-year-old from Ukraine, Mahuchik has crushed it. Here's the thing. In April, people thought she was close. And she's like, if I just work on my speed. But it's one of those records you're like, it is ancient, it is old, no one's going to break it. And here she does. And I think it's just going to give such a boost to the Ukrainian people right now who need that. So to see her go into Paris as the world record holder, I think the amount of pride that she's going to have, like, it's just, and she could do more, Andy. The point is she could do more. Like, there was a lot of space in between her and that bar.
Well, Canadians are keeping their eye on the field just simply because of what we've been able to do in hammer throw and shot put and decathlon. So we're pretty excited and we'll be keeping our eye on high jump. Perdita, you've been sharing your knowledge on the air for a few years now, continuing to inspire athletes and fans of the sport. But what you did on the track still inspires. Here's the Canadian, Marine Abdul-Rashid. Do you remember this? So she's going to be running hurdles for Canada. She loved you. After the 2000 Olympics, she took this poster, had it in her room. You went and spoke at her school. Then you signed it for her. She said, I still have that in my room. How does it feel knowing that you are so old? I'm totally kidding. That you are an absolute role model and inspiration. I only say that because I think I'm older than you, honey. How does that feel to see that, knowing you've inspired the next generation?
It's funny. You stole my thunder because I'm like, it makes me feel old and honored. Like
I knew you were thinking that.
100%. Like we're both born the same year, like maybe a few weeks apart. But yeah, I remember that was from like a RBC ad back in 2004. She was a little girl back then. And that picture though, Andy, was from 2013. So that tells you how long her family held on to that poster. So I went to her school downtown Toronto and spoke to her and signed it. And look at her all these years later. So someone's always watching. There's always someone looking to see how you handle things. And to me, it's like a testament to, okay, you know what? I did well on the track. So thank you, Miriam, for that. I'm wishing you all the best. I sent her a message the other day just to root for her. It's so nice to see, another Canadian do thing in the hurdles.
You did great on the track, and you're going to do great in studio. I cannot wait for the start of Paris 2024. Perdita in studio with me for prime time.
See you soon.
You're going to the Olympics.
Yeah, finally. It means everything, clearly.
Tell about it. Tell me about the journey.
So I was saying I started when I was 6 years old, and I had the dream since then. And there's been a lot of years where you think, like, should I give up the childhood dream? And I just knew I had more to give, and it doesn't come when you want it all the time, but it's here now, and it was worth the wait. A lot of second place finishes at nationals, and on this track specifically. So I knew I had to be intentional from the first hurdle to the 10th hurdle if I was going to make my dreams come true. It doesn't come always when you want, and your dreams are not too big. Just keep putting one foot in front of the other. There's no secret other than that.
The man holding that microphone for that very emotional, inspiring interview is joining me in studio right now, our very own Devin Heroux, who will be on the ground in Paris. You're going to be at some of these athletic events as well, and we're going to turn our attention now to the Canadian story. How great was that, by the way?
Well, you know, the thing of it is one foot in front of the other. Delay is not defeat. And when you think and listen to Perdita talk about how long she was holding on to that, that's how long she was holding on to the Olympic dream. Yeah. And so for us to be able to be in these moments, I was thinking about it, Andy, as I went to the Canadian track and field trials. There are people waking up on those competition days with this dream that they've been thinking about becoming reality. And you saw Miriam, how emotional she was. Like, that is the sweet spot of our job, when we get to just absorb all of that. So it was beautiful. Congratulations to her. Pretty special stuff, no doubt.
I always say that, you know, they've been doing this for years, athletes, not just dreaming, but working hard. And whenever somebody says overnight success, I said, you show me an athlete who's an overnight success, I'll show you a unicorn. Doesn't exist.
Doesn't happen.
It doesn't happen. But before we get into some of the big names that we know we're going to see in Paris, who are some of the new faces?
Well, you were talking about the high jump record, 36, 37 years, standing the test of time. Let's talk about Lightning Leduc, is her nickname, of course. Audrey Leduc, you know, I first met her in Glasgow at the World Indoor Track and Field Championships. And I was so struck by how intentional and intense and focused she was. I hadn't met her before, didn't know a lot about her. And just the way she carried herself in the mix zone, I was like, this is a woman on a mission this year. And then, of course, she breaks Angela Bailey's 100-meter Canadian record going all the way back to 1987, follows that up with breaking the 200-meter Canadian record. She's the fastest woman in Canada. I also want to point out, Andy, she played such a pivotal role in the world relays in Bahamas in the 4x100 meter to qualify that team. Everybody was talking about her leg. And what a special moment for her, with a Quebec hometown crowd roaring for her at trials in Montreal. She, a lot of people are saying, is an overnight success. But to your point, she has been grinding away, and now it's her moment in the sun. And I really believe that she can reach the women's 100-meter final. I know that is what success is going to look like for her. She's going to obviously have to have personal bests. But I think Audrey is ready for the big stage.
Yeah, because that's the tough part too, right? It's not like you just show up to the Olympics and race for the medal. You have to go through heats. And there's just this whole qualification process. It's quite the grind.
For sure.
What about in the 400-meter, Christopher? I know we've been hearing about Morales-Williams for a while now because of what he's done on the NCAA stage, but he's still only 19 years of age, and he's gonna be a new name still to a lot of Canadians.
And he just went pro, right? It was quite an extraordinary scene when he wins the Canadian title and he swaps out his Nike shoes for Adidas shoes right on the track.
Whoa, that's dramatic.
It was dramatic. I got the shot.
Of course you did.
He was soul searching, something like that. And now he's getting ready to run his first pro race in Monaco this week. I think we'll get a sense where he's at. It's a stacked field. I am concerned about him, and here's why. I'm going to lean on what he told me. He said, those other guys, the pro guys, they haven't had to do the NCAA grind. I have. My legs are tired. Now he goes pro. Now he's traveling. He's running this pro race, and then he's going right into his first Olympics. This has been a whirlwind for this 19-year-old. Then again, I say that, and I go, he is 19. And there's something about the innocence of all of that, right? He doesn't really know what he's up against. But I am excited. for him. And I think Canadians should be. He has a remarkable story. His entire family. He says, I race for my family. His late grandfather wanted to be on his national team. He said, I'm fulfilling my grandfather's dream by running for my national team. Like, it's going to be really impactful. He lost his mom to cancer when he was 15 months old. He told me, I run for me and I run for my family. And now he's running for Canada, something a year ago I don't think he could have imagined. So watch out for Christopher Morales-Williams. He has a world-leading time, 44.05 this year. I think he'll have to get into 43s to sneak onto the podium. It's wide open in the men's 400 meter.
Well, you've already sold a lot of people to watch him, that's for sure. Let's talk about some big names. Andre de Grasse.
Yeah.
He is the reigning 200 meter Olympic champion. Typically between Olympics, there's always like this with Andre, and everyone goes, is he going to be ready? But Rio, Tokyo, he shows up.
He shows up. Morgan Campbell, of course, who's very thoughtful in the track and field world, said, everybody always talks about Andre finding this magic potion, peaking at the right time. He says the reason he does that is because he's actually healthy. He's actually in form. And he does allow himself to have a little bit of a dip. It isn't 110 decibels throughout the entire Olympic cycle. And let me point out, he just ran 19.98 in the 200 meter. It was his most dominant performance this year. And if you rewind the clock 3 years ago to this exact time, he ran 19.97. And then 3.5 weeks later, won the 200 meter with a 19.62. He'll have to be faster, but all signs point to Andre de Grasse doing what he does at the Olympics. 6 times he's competed in events at 2 games, a medal every time. That's extraordinary.
Yeah, in Tokyo, of the 5 medals Canadians picked up on the track, he had 2 of them, the bronze in the 100, and then, of course, the gold in the 200. Wait, he was part of the relay.
Relay, too.
That was
silver.
My goodness.
The upgrade.
Never mind, he picked
3.
up 3. So my math is off. See what I mean? Andre de Grasse.
Honestly, math is hard.
Yeah, math is really hard, but I think the expectation is there. Yeah. Dare I say, because these are his 3rd Olympics, we do know that there are other challengers there. And as much as we've come to expect him to pick up 3 medals in 3 events that he's competing in, does this year feel a little different?
I think it does feel different. We would never want to early retirement somebody. We would never do that. But I think Andre knows a window of greatness is probably closing. And he is so savvy. Right? I mean, you just said it a second ago, the rounds from the heats to the semi to the final. It's one thing to go to a Diamond League, the pomp and pageantry and the flash, like Perdita talked about with Noah Lyles. But you have to follow it up, and you have to do it in the most intense situations. And Andre de Grasse has been able to do that. Where did he win his 200 meter? Wasn't he on the outside lane? Or it might have been his bronze in the 100, whatever it is. Put him in any situation, he always gets it done. So he has wisdom and experience that I think he can lean on. And that men's 4x100 meter team, that is going to be riveting as well, because they really want to win the gold. They want a repeat of their performance at World Championships in Eugene, Oregon. Yeah,
because not the last World Championships, they didn't make the final. They were crushed with that, because they love to go head-to-head with the Americans. Marco Arop obviously is a world champion, devastating Tokyo Olympics. How different is it for him entering Paris?
I'll never forget it, Andy. It's a fantastic question. It changed everything about the way he runs a race. And since that point, that bombing out in the semifinal, and there he is, of course, you were with him in Budapest when he finally broke through and won that World Championship title, the first Canadian ever to do it. But since that bombing out in the semifinal, where he went out fast like he always does after his idol, David Rudisha, and he ran out of steam in the Tokyo heat, he has spent the last 3 years trying to be bulletproof in this race. And I asked him that exact question at trials, because he used it like a tune-up. A lot of guys were taking it easy, not Marco, he never does. And I said, have you been making sure you're bulletproof since that time? He said, here's the thing. I always wanted to be the front runner, but now I can win a race from any position. And if you watch that World Championship race, he fell back.
Yeah, he did.
And then he took his moment and he charged. To know he has that, I know a lot of people are looking at these other times we've been seeing, the 1:41, some of the fastest times ever. I'm not worried about Marco. I don't think we've seen even close to how good he is. He's in the best shape of his life, mentally, He is bulletproof, so I can't wait for Marco.
We've
Nicest guy.
Yeah, oh, he is fantastic.
Yeah.
We've talked a lot about the field. We already know that in hammer throw, we have the 2 world champions in Cameron Rogers and Ethan Katzberg, Sarah Mitten, world silver medalist in shot put. What about Damian Warner? This is a guy where that world title has eluded him, but fellow Canadian Pierce Lepage took that last year. But he is the defending. He's going in as the reigning Olympic champion, got over 9,000 points. What are we expecting from him?
Do you want a hot take?
I love a hot take.
I think it's Damian's to lose.
Stop it.
Yeah. I think Damian Warner is undoubtedly the favorite to defend his Olympic gold. And I know Pierce is the reigning world champion. I mean, an embarrassment of riches in this country. You know, like we're debating, is it going to be this Canadian?
What color medal?
But, you know, seeing Damian at track and field trials, first of all, he's a specimen.
Yeah.
And he's actually more muscular than he's ever been at 34 years old. Like the guy is, and I put that to him, and he said, undoubtedly, I'm in the best shape of my life. As he's gotten older, he has to keep his body in peak form, because to that point, the decathlon grinds athletes down, and perhaps that might be the greatest thing about Damian Warner is his ability to endure and to be consistent and to be healthy, excluding what happened in Eugene, because he was on his way to a world championship title when he pulled his hamstring. But Damian, as a defending champion, people said, so how much pressure is on you? And he said, none. All the pressure is on the other people who have never won it before. I've already won it. I already know how to do it. And so I think that mindset, because in 2 days, 10 events, your head can stop you. And that's why I think some of these younger guys who are trying to push through and break through, I don't think they're ready. I don't think they're ready for Damian Warner. I think Damian is as ready as he'll ever be, and I think it's going to be a beautiful moment with his wife Jen and his son Theo and his whole family there who couldn't be there in Tokyo. He's ready to put on a show. I think Damian's ready to defend his title, and wouldn't he be the first Canadian ever to follow up an Olympic title in track and field?
Wouldn't that be great? Baby Theo, I'm still waiting for that apology when he smacked me when they came back from Tokyo at a party. So whatever, I got smacked by Baby. What? And I know. He did. He just smacked me. It's okay. It's fine. It's all fine. It's not like I'm still harboring.
You're working through it. You're working through it.
But here's the other thing with Damian. You're right. He's so mentally tough. Again, even you see how athletes conduct themselves, right? Even in Budapest, he just made it. He was very polite about it. He's like, I do not speak after day one because I'm still just so in the zone. I'll speak to you once it's all said and done. And he was very polite about that. But when it comes to his competition, we know that Pierce Lepage, the fellow Canadian who's the reigning world champion, has not been competing. We don't really know what we're going to see from him in Paris. And we know that another major competitor from France is dealing with an injury.
Thank you for reminding me of that. Yeah. So this is some development out of France. Kevin Mayer, who is the world record holder in the decathlon. And imagine this. This will be his last Olympics, undoubtedly. Two-time Olympic silver medalist in the decathlon. We are now learning that he has a lesion in his left hamstring, went down hard in the Diamond League, running the 110-meter hurdles this past weekend in Paris. Think about that, Andy. In Paris, your last tune-up event for a home Olympics, your swan song, and it looks like he's not going to be competing. And I think a lot of people from an opponent perspective were worried about Mayer because he's done some extraordinary things. He's a world record holder. That's a devastating blow. I really hope for his sake that he can find a way. I read some of what his team was posting in press releases and social media. They said, we're racing against the clock. We're going to fight like hell to try and compete in front of a home crowd. And I think it would just add a lot more energy to what is going to be an atmospheric situation in Stade de France. So pay attention to Kevin Mayer, but it's really looking like, you know, with Pierce, a question mark around his health, Kevin Mayer. This is a decathlon. You have to be able to stay healthy, and Damian has been able to do that.
All right. Well, I mean, if I wasn't jacked up for athletics already, between Perdita and you, I am ready to go.
Well, we need one more, and we can do the mixed relay.
Oh, that's right. You mean you, me, Perdita, and we have to get somebody else. Wow,
Who could that be?
you have a lot of confidence in
Craig-
your speed, eh?
Well,
Who's running the anchor? It's
I
gonna be
was
Fajita.
going to say that. Don't drop the baton, okay?
That's the key. That's what's so nerve-wracking
I know.
about relay.
Oh.
The baton exchange, and inevitably somebody steps on a line at that time too.
Well,
the relay's exhilarating.
And oh, I love the relay. I
Yeah.
can't wait for the relays. And the last point to that, you know about you have to get the baton off. They can extend the box because if they step outside of that, they're disqualified. Glenroy Gilbert, who of course is the best.
Yeah.
And Bruni's going to be there, and Donovan's going to be part of the broadcast. I love it. Like, where's Robert Esme? And the whole team is there. But he extended the box when they won that 2022 World Championship. They were on a razor-thin edge, and that's why they won. And I think we're going to see some special secret stuff from Glenroy that are going to push those guys over the top in Paris.
I love it. See, it's not just a matter of putting on the shoes and running.
No.
There's a lot of technique and there's a lot of planning that goes into it for sure. Devin, it is a blast having you here. Safe travels. Can't wait to see what you do out in Paris. You've been watching the show here, getting you ready for athletics, the Canadian and international story. Remember, the opening ceremony, July 26th, will actually be on the air July 25th as the Canadian women's soccer team begin their title defense in the Olympics. So excited to have you along for this incredible ride, Paris 2024 Olympics, right here on CBC Sports.
Paris in the summer, where hearts turn to gold. It's gonna be a wild ride. Everyone's invited, from the city of light, the city of love.
Catchberg lets it fly. Goal for Maggie McNeil.
And CBC and Gem have you covered, coast to coast to coast, to the hot Paris sun. The world comes alive in a global act of unity.
Julia Grasse to win it for Canada. Canada gold. Nobody will catch him today.
Cameron Rogers, the world champion.
It all begins July 26th.
This is a performance for the history books.
Find the light, and you'll feel the love. Be the love, and you'll see the light.
Here comes to Grasse, accelerating. Goal for Canada. It is Summer McIntosh.
Summer's gonna be popping. Let's go!